We have a new ban from a cruise line on a specific type of camera that you could no longer bring on board the ships. And we have a story of another firearm that somehow made it through security and also got on board a cruise ship. Yep, it's time for some cruise news. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video. And we're here to talk about some cruise news today. And we're going to start off talking about a new camera ban, a ban coming from MSC Cruise Lines. Now, you may be wondering, why am I wearing these? Because these are an example of what has been banned. So, smart glasses. They're saying no more smart glasses on MSC Cruise Lines, especially if they can record other people, other situations without people knowing. I don't know if you can tell or not, but right here in the center on this particular set, and it's an older set, but on this set, that's a camera right there. So I could have these on, be sitting back, watching people, could be in the spa, could be someplace where people don't want to be recorded, and they would have no idea in most cases, unless they got close enough to actually see and notice the camera, that I could be sitting there and recording them. So they put the ban into place to safeguard guest privacy and security operations on board the ship. So according to MSC, if you try to bring them on board the ship, security is going to be looking for them. Security is going to confiscate these glasses. Now, you may say, well, what's the difference between those glasses and a camera or your cell phone? Well, one is kind of obvious. If someone's walking around with their cell phone filming, it's kind of obvious what they're doing. A camera, it's kind of obvious what they're doing. But in the case of these glasses, it's not always so obvious, because what if they're on somebody's face and they're in the restroom? They could be recording in a restroom. They could be recording in a spa facility. Even with this particular set, it came with a set of lenses that the dark lenses pop out, and you could put clear lenses in. Maybe they start looking more like glasses, not looking like sunglasses. Now you're wearing those inside the ship. So I get where MSC is coming from and why they are banning them. But if you do own a pair, you use a pair of these, just be prepared to not be allowed to bring them on MSC. Now, that's the only cruise line that's putting this ban in place. But if this becomes an issue or a problem on other cruise lines, you could expect this change to spread to them as well. Next, we're going to talk about a 69-year-old grandmother who got arrested in the Bahamas for having a handgun, a firearm, in her purse when she went through security. Now, according to the story, she's from Oklahoma. She went to the cruise port, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, boarded Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas, got off in the Bahamas, and when coming back through security, that's when they found the firearm in her possession. Of course, she was arrested. Her daughter started a GoFundMe page, was able to raise the $8,000 fine, and she has since been released. Now, according to the story, she always carries this in her purse. It's for her personal protection, self-defense. When she got to the cruise port, she simply forgot to take it out of her purse, took it on board the ship, obviously took her purse off in the Bahamas, and when she came back through, that's when security caught it. So, doesn't look like there was any malicious intent. I intended to sneak it on the cruise ship. Nothing like that. She says she simply forgot that it was in her purse. And, well, I mean, she had to pay an $8,000 fine for forgetting. But the big question, the real big question, has less to do with her than it does with how did it get through security in Fort Lauderdale to start with? And this isn't the first time we've asked this question. We've had firearms get on board cruise ships before. I know security's not perfect. Stuff is going to get through. But we've told the story of firearms getting on board cruise ships more than once recently. And each and every time it's made it through the security that everybody must go through before you get on the cruise ship. And it does kind of make me wonder, if we're seeing an increased number of stories about these firearms, I really got to ask, how many are making it on board the cruise ship and these people have never been caught? Doesn't really matter if it's on accident, doesn't matter if it's on purpose. The whole point of the security prior to boarding the cruise ship, they x-ray your carry-on bags. They go through, they look inside it. How are they continuing 2 missed guns. There's always that table there in the cruise port where they confiscate stuff. You see hair dryers, chargers, power strips. Seen some unique items on there, crock pots and other things like that. The security catches when they goes through. They're checking any liquids you have on board, liquid containers, to make sure you're not trying to smuggle alcohol on board. They stop that. They got dogs to sniff for drugs. They've got that. Yet somehow a gun in a purse goes right on board the cruise ship. I don't get how this continues to happen. You would think after the first couple of times somebody would go, whoa, maybe we need to check a little bit harder and pay a little more attention when people are, boarding these ships. But I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you feel about MSC banning smart glasses that can record people? And does anybody have an idea of how these firearms continue to get on board cruise ships? To me, it really seems like it's a problem, training, some accountability that needs to happen with security at cruise ports. Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to be our video for today. If you've enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.